In today's video, we're going to be talking about 7 types of homes you should never buy, especially in Naples, Florida. And I would almost say in any coastal area of Florida, unless of course you are into losing money and absolute financial ruin, then knock yourself out, but consider yourself warned. All right. Let's jump into it. These are the 7 types of homes you should never buy in coastal Florida in no particular order. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why you shouldn't buy them, starting with the first one being a 2-story home. Now, you may think, well, what's wrong with a 2-story home? I'm moving from Boston. I have a generational home. It's 2 stories. Maybe it's 3 stories we've built on. Leave what you know about life, leave that in Boston, because you will not live that way in Florida. You won't. So here's the thing. I always tell you to layer your exit strategies. You want to have as many exit strategies as you can, because the exit is many times as important, if not more so, than the acquisition itself, because you never know how you're going to feel 3 years down the road. So if you buy a 2-story, what's going to happen is you are going to narrow your resale possibilities into not only a straw, but basically a cocktail straw. Because most people, even if they can do the stairs now, even if you have a main floor master, most people are going to pass on a 2-story because they are anticipating that on down the road, they're not going to be able to do the stairs. And they're right. Most people, I'm going to say more than 90% of the buyers that I work with will say, I don't want a 2-story. A frame home is the second one that you really want to shy away from. Now, you might say, wait a minute, Barrett, I'm from the Northeast. We get hurricanes in the Northeast and all the homes up here are frame and we don't have any problem. I hear you, but here in Florida, if you try to insure a frame home, by that I mean wood frame, you're going to have a lot of trouble. There are many insurance companies that won't insure them at all. And a lot of times you can't tell. If you don't know what you're looking for, don't make the assumption if you see stucco that that's concrete construction, because what happens is those wood frame homes, they just stucco over them. So the insurance companies seem to think that those are going to be more likely to blow down in a hurricane. I don't know that that is necessarily true, to be honest, because, you know, wood is kind of pliable, but I don't know, whatever, that's not my field of expertise, but they don't like to insure them. So even if you're not worried about it, again, think exit strategy anytime you buy. Somebody else is probably going to have a problem with it. Number 3, a single family home with a very short driveway. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you flown into Naples or maybe Sarasota and you've looked around, and many of these HOA newer communities have these driveways that can barely fit the smallest little speck of a car. Teeny tiny, barely, like you're into the sidewalk at the back end of the car. There is absolutely no room. And really, you could put just one teeny tiny little Kia in the garage. There is really, truly almost no room for 2 cars to sit side by side. And there's definitely no room for 2 cars to fit in a 2-car garage. It's really, really tight. So if you buy one of those, let's say you find a wonderful home, you love it, and you're not really thinking about this. Your kids are 11 and 12 years old and you found a great neighborhood that you love. Those kids are going to turn 16. Those kids are going to want to drive. Where are you going to put the car? If you buy them, if they're lucky enough that you buy them a car, where are you putting the car? Now, let's say you and your wife both have a car. You're both retired. You don't have kids coming with you, but you're going to have guests and you anticipate making friends, and you already have some friends in Naples and you want them to come over. You don't want to be those lonely Florida people. You don't want to be that person. So if you invite them over, where are they going to park? Oh, did I hear you say they'll just park on the street? No, they won't. You know why? Because you bought in an HOA in one of those newer home communities, and there's rules against that. You can't park on the street, and you can't park on the street certainly overnight unless you want to get ticketed. It's just not allowed. Now, you might also say, why, Barrett? Why isn't it allowed? I don't even think I believe you. You know why? Because the streets are so narrow that if you park up and down, let's say all your guests park along the road, and then right across the street from you, they park up and down the road, then the theory is that a fire truck or an ambulance can't get through, and they probably cannot. So think long and hard before you buy one of those really short driveway homes. And by the way, one of the longest driveways I have ever seen throughout the entire neighborhood is in Estae called The Place. They have driveways that you could put 10 cars easily. I mean, that's the one and only place. That's the very first thing I noticed when I showed property in there, is like, my gosh, those driveways are so long. Number 4, and this is in general. This may not be applicable necessarily to you, and I know that there are some people that would like this, but for the most part, always thinking about exit strategy, a north-facing home, and remember, when I'm saying what direction it's facing, I'm always talking about the back, because theoretically that's where your lanai is, that's where your pool is. So if you're north facing, due north, not even tilted to the west or the east, nothing like that. If you're due north, then that back area is going to be shaded a lot. So in the summer, you might really be fine with that. You might enjoy it. But you have to think about when the sun comes over your pool. And if your pool is always in the shade, that isn't necessarily going to feel like Florida. So you always want to focus on what direction the back of the house is facing. For the record, because I'm sure somebody's going to ask, my favorite direction is south, because you get that indirect sun and you generally have sun on your pool all day long. So that is my favorite. I don't like west facing as much as I don't like north, because west, half of the year you can't sit outside. Like if you're trying to have dinner on your lanai, you're just blazing migraine inducing sun literally from 3 o'clock on. Number 5, a home with absolutely no pool access. Remember, you're moving to Florida. You can swim all year long for the most part. If you have a heated pool, you can definitely swim all year long. So if you decide to buy a home because you're not going to be there all year long, you're going to snowbird. So if you decide that you want a home that doesn't have a pool, that's totally fine. But don't buy in a community that doesn't have a pool accessible to you. So you want to have a nice pool where somebody can go when visitors come. And again, thinking of exit strategy, most people will not be okay with a community that doesn't have a pool at all and no pool in the backyard. Now, the one caveat to that, but you're going to take a big hit on this because these types of homes are not as desirable, but if you buy and you have a big yard and somebody can design their own $150,000 pool, because it's going to cost every bit of that, then that might work. But remember that if you are buying a home like that, then you're of course going to want preferred pricing on it. If you're not a golfer and you find a home in a community that has beautiful amenities, it has a restaurant, pickleball, tennis, beautiful rec center, country club environment, and you have all that because it's a golf course community and maybe even a private golf course community, if you're not a golfer and you buy into that community because you like all the amenities so much and you don't care if you're going to pay a $65,000 upfront fee to join the club, it doesn't bother you, you love the amenities and you plan to stay there a long time anyway, maybe the rest of your life, doesn't bother you. Here's the problem with doing that. You are paying for something you're not using. Even if you say, I don't care, I'm fine with it, you're going to feel left out. If you and your husband don't golf at all, and you're like, well, you know what, I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to have dinner.
I looked at the menu. The menu looked awesome.
Honey, they serve prime rib.
If that's you, Everybody at the table is going to be talking about their handicap. Everybody's talking about golf and what happened on the course. And did you see Jim got an eagle on the whatever? That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, trust me on this. I hear this all the time, and I have sellers that will call me and say, you know, honestly, the reason that I want to move is because we can't make any friends. We loved the amenities in the community, and we hang out at the pool all the time, but nobody talks to us because we don't golf. And then lastly, this is a big one. I don't care the price of the home or the condo. Don't buy one that backs to a main road. And by a main road, I'm not so much talking about a neighborhood road. Sometimes you can get away with that. I'd prefer that you not invest your money in that. But I'm talking about don't back to West Terry in Bonita. Don't back to Immokalee. Don't back to Corkscrew. Don't back to 41. If you back to these main roads, it is so loud. You can't sit outside. And remember, you don't have these big, tall, thick, amazing trees that help kind of sound that down just a little bit. You don't have that. The other thing you need to be aware of is 75. So that wind will carry 75, Highway 75 road noise for miles and miles. And there's a weird phenomena that if it bounces off water, it gets even louder. So I can think of many communities in North Naples that are absolutely beautiful communities, and you can't have a conversation outside. Beautiful homes that are literally rendered unsellable. Doesn't matter how much you paid for them, because again, exit strategy is the most important thing. If there's nobody else, like if you bought that amazingly beautiful home, you looked around and you said everything in this neighborhood is trending at $2 million and I can pick this up for $900,000, it's a no-brainer. I have to buy it. But then when you go to sell it, nobody wants it. You only wanted it because it was $900,000. You don't want it at a number above that. And you know what? Neither does anybody else. So those are my 7 tips. Those are 7 homes you don't want to buy, especially in coastal Florida. Let me know if I missed anything. I would love to know your comments down below. Let us know. Is there something else that I didn't think of?